Welcome back, everybody, to the RacePlazaMedia podcast, episode 24.
Nice.
My name is Milan.
My name is Pia.
And this weekend, we watched some MotoGP, as always.
Course.
Yes, so we're going to get into that. And then the second half will be about my babies racing.
Babies is an interesting choice of words.
Yes. So there's one other racing series we followed this weekend. I watched it a little bit more than you did.
Yes.
But we're going to get into that after we talked about MotoGP in Misano.
Yes.
So the second race in Italy this season, which also I think the final race in Italy. I don't think there's more.
Yeah, because after this we're heading to mostly Asia and then also Australia. Oh, no. Well, yeah. It's the last race in Italy because we're coming back to Europe, but that's Portugal and Valencia, Spain. So
yeah, so we have 3 races in Spain a season. That's pretty intense.
it's a lot, yeah.
So anyways, you as always watch the sprint race.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Okay, so going into it, the starting grid was interesting because we didn't have Mark on the front row. So it's like, okay, I mean, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It has happened before, but it's still always a surprise when we don't see him in any of the top 3 positions. This time it was Marco Bezzecchi in pole in his home race, which is of course very exciting. Next to him was Alex Marquez, and then in third we have Fabio Quartararo.
Okay.
So a quite diverse front row.
Can you tell me where Pecco started?
So Marc Marquez ended up starting in 4th, so just missed the front row. Then Pecco started in 8th.
Okay.
And we have Frankie Morbidelli, who's Italian. He started in 5th. Fabio, so DG, started in 7th. The big, I guess, upset in terms of Italians was Enea Bastianini, just because he started in 20th, which is a little bit of a bummer. But we also know Enea is great on the track, so he can make up a lot of positions.
And he knows the track.
Yes.
But it is almost like, it always feels like this curse of the special podium. Like you get onto the podium and then the race weekend after you have a bad race, you kind of, quote unquote, bad race. I mean, starting P20 is not ideal. Yeah. And I know the KTMs were really struggling this weekend. Yes. Specifically the main team, not the junior one that Bastianini has on, but still, like, we had the same thing in F1 with Jar making it onto P3. Yes. And then starting from the pits
the following
which he still made it into the points, right?
So it's possible, but it is definitely the swing of the pendulum is quite strong. Yes. So going into this weekend, I was super excited. And of course, this was a weekend also determining whether or not Mark will have his first match point in this next upcoming race, which is going to be Japan. So the question was, if Alex outscores him by 10 points, then over
the whole weekend,
then he wouldn't get the chance to
get his match point.
Exactly. So it was going to be quite difficult, but there's a possibility.
Yeah.
So that was like the big thing going into the sprint race, if what's going to happen. So starting off in the sprint race, we had a great start from Alex, Mark, and Marco, which was, I feel like going into it, it was really those 3 that I was watching out for the most. Just because Mark is on the second row doesn't mean he can't take first place right out of or into the first turn. So, of course, he had another excellent start. So the 3 of them were battling immediately going into turn 1. I thought for a moment that Marco, so Bez, would lose his his pole position, but he was able to maintain it because he went the long way around, which was really cool. So he was able to take the lead, and then Mark ended up passing Alex. So it was the 3 of them for a while, and then also Bez had driven out a little bit of a lead, and then there was chit chat about like, oh yeah, this is not Mark's best track. There was like the certain section where he always loses time, and you could sometimes even see it going into as they were driving the laps, that there was a segment of the track where Bez just pulled away just a little bit more.
And I just want to point out for people listening, maybe, it's like calling something a not good Marc Marquez track just means that he only won 5 times there.
Yes.
In the past. I mean, there are actually tracks on on this in the calendar that he has not won, I think, on, or he has won this year for the first time.
Yes.
But it's like, calling a track a bad Marc Marquez track is, it's
Yes.
like there is, there's like reason, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, there's like a salt of grain, I guess.
No,
Take that with salt
of course. It's
grain of salt.
Yeah.
Not salt of grain.
Yeah. Very true. So we're going into the race. Like I said, Bez is leading. He has a little bit, not a comfortable lead, but he's like, I think like half a second ahead of them. And they keep this pace for 4 laps, going into the 5th lap. And then suddenly, Mark crashes out. And it was like everybody was so surprised because I don't remember what turn it was, if that's what you're going to ask me. But he just went into the corner. He lost control of I think the front wheel just got some air, lost grip, and then he rolled out.
When you say air, you mean it was off the ground,
yes,
not the tire pressure itself.
No, exactly. Yeah. It just, I think it had lifted, just a little bit.
It happened quite a lot, I think, on this track. It happened.
So he just lost the grip, and then the bike just went away from under him. But the bike catapulted and rolled like crazy over the gravel. Scary. He also went with a bunch of momentum, and his head went into the boundary. Luckily, it's like cushion.
It's quite cushioned.
It's like
right?
like mattresses, like kind of it looks to me like a gym mattress.
Yeah, like an acrobatics
like
mattress,
from like tumbling and stuff like that. That's where he went head first, which is like also it is quite a distance that he traveled, and he still went in there. Luckily, of course, he has protection, but I'm sure there was a little bit of an impact.
Yeah. Do you know how many laps the sprint race was? Was it like 14?
No, I believe it was 12.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, and then he crashed out in lap 5.
Okay, so
yeah, which was it's just such a bummer. But then Bez was leading, and then 4 laps later, in laps 9, KTM, you already foreshadowed it. Brad Binder just stopped working, and he was furious. He was so mad. He was banging on like the handlebars or the front of the thing because he had I forgot which position he was in. But the KTMs have been so competitive. And then, I mean, these are all valuable points that they lose for the rider championship, but also for their manufacturers or for the teams.
Because there's a separate championship for the custom teams, right?
Yeah, so they have the manufacturer ones. They have the custom or the independent teams.
Independent teams, exactly.
So, yeah, exactly. So these are all valuable points, and we're getting to the end of the season, and it's just so frustrating. So apparently he had lost his chain.
Yes.
Which is like...
And I think at that point, that was the second time it had happened, right? Didn't something happen during a free practice with him?
I don't remember. I don't know because I didn't watch free practice.
Okay.
I don't remember hearing them.
Or maybe qualifying or something like that?
I don't remember. They didn't talk about it as much, not that I remember, during the race. Okay. So that was just such a huge bummer. So going into the result of the race, we have in 3rd place, DG. He was battling Frankie Morbidelli like hard. And I was a little worried because also Frankie before this weekend was brought into the steward's office or the head steward's office and was like, got a stern talking to. Is like, hey, I've been seeing you too much in here. You need to rein this in. Otherwise, instead of getting a long lap penalty, you might have to drive through the pits, which is a lot worse.
I think this is very interesting, the way the FIM decides to handle this.
Yes.
Where it's like, hey, you've been causing a lot of trouble on track, which it's true.
Yes.
He's caused a lot of incidences.
Yes.
Also a lot of incidences that, really hurt other drivers or riders. And it's very interesting. They're like, hey, listen, you need to straighten this up because in F1, you don't have that. Like someone is completely wilding out all the time or causing, crashes and stuff like that. And it's just, I feel like we don't ever hear someone having a conversation with them.
I agree.
Like you pick up your penalty points or whatever, or sometimes you just don't get anything. But it's quite interesting. I like that. That's good.
I thought so too. I thought it was really interesting. And I think it makes sense. Just because of his track record this season. So it's really interesting that so seeing the battle between him and DG, I was like, oh, or how far are you going to take this? Because also, of course, you're teammates. Yeah. But both of you guys are Italians. You're both riding at home. So, of course, both of you want to be on the podium. So there's definitely a lot at stake.
Was Valentino there? Because
I was just going to say Valentino was there. Because then, as, drum roll, Bez went through the finish line first, winning at home. Valentino was the first one there to hug him
That's
because
awesome.
he was watching from somewhere on the side.
Yeah.
He ran onto the track. He was literally the first person
That's
to hug
awesome.
him.
Because
And,
he
like,
was riding for VR46 last
I mean,
season,
he
right?
graduated from the VR46 or VR Academy, essentially. So he is.
Was he on the 46?
He was last
right?
year. Yeah,
Last
yeah.
year,
He was in the
okay.
neon
Okay,
yellow, and then this year he's.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So you're right. So it was really beautiful to see Valentino there congratulating him, and Lando Norris was there as well. So he congratulated him right there too. It was a little awkward because Lando's like, well, I'm like, am I supposed to be here? But Valentino just like brought him like with him, and then at the end you could see them both on the scooter or in the little Vespa riding back with like the like a little bike helmet on top. So cute.
So funny.
So then essentially first place home race winner for the sprint race is Bez. Second place is Alex Marquez. And then DG came in third. So we have two Italians on the podium. I mean, the VR fans and also the Bez fans were just, of course, ecstatic. When Mark had crashed, people were like booing him right there because it is quite a contentious place for Mark because of course he had this big rivalry with Valentino, and then
as far as I'm understanding it, there is still not like smooth waters between them.
I agree.
I think they're still like, not that they're in any way competing against each other, right? But as far as I'm understanding that, it's not like, everything is cool now.
Yes.
It is
I think
very
they're
much not
probably
so.
Cordial.
Yes.
If they see each other, but they're not going to hang out. They're not going to be buddies.
Yeah, and even so, I think like it's not like, they're going to, even like on the side, they're not going to be like chit-chatting it up or anything like that.
I mean, I think we've seen them in Park Fair where they just like shook hands briefly, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so Valentino was there. Bez won. We have two Italians on the podium. And so this was when Bez brought out this wooden leg to celebrate. I mean, we've heard this before, and we've know it from like when I did my video about Valentino Rossi, that he had all these crazy celebrations. Of course, Jorge Martin, when he won the championship last year, he had the Martinator, this big spectacle with the special mask.
It's
and
like everyone has like their little stick.
Like,
what is it called? Not stick.
Stick. Yeah. Which I think is really cool that there's like also thought into the celebration. So Bez had this wooden leg that they gave to him. So on his like victory lap, he was riding with it, and he brought it onto the podium. And so the commentators were a little bit confused at the beginning until they found out what it was. But basically, it's an homage in a way to this 90s comedy, an Italian comedy where there's like three comedians travel with like this wooden leg across Italy.
Okay.
And it's like very famous
in Italy.
In Bez, I had read a Reddit thing where Bez had called it like, oh, yeah, from an old movie or something like that. It's from 1997. So it's...
I mean, that's a long time ago.
It is.
It's almost 30 years.
But then people in the comments were like, old,
How dare you speak to me like this? Yeah, I get it.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's from like a movie. And then also he had there's like he had Garbez on his helmet, which is
a wordplay?
No, yes, I guess it is, because the Garpez is the artist in the movie, I think, that creates, or like a fake artist that creates this wooden leg. So instead of just Bez, it's Garbez. And then there was, I think, another quote on his livery somewhere from the movie as well.
Okay.
So like, and then his whole helmet design was like in this woodeny design. So that was homage to that.
Yeah. So I thought the wood, the leg was maybe hollow, and it's kind of like a shoey situation where you would like drink out of it.
Yes, I agree.
I obviously didn't know where this all coming from. But I would drink out of the wooden leg over drinking out of
especially because the wooden leg was not worn.
Exactly. It's not sweaty nastiness.
Disgusting. But yeah, so I think the only other thing I want to mention about this is, unfortunately, I mean, we had 3 retirements or 3 people that didn't finish. Was Brad Binder, Fabio Quartararo. He also crashed out in lap 5 just before Marc Marquez. And then the other loser, I think a little bit, is just Pecco Bagnaia. He had started in 8th. He lost a couple positions. He ended up in 13th, but without those retirements or crashes, he would have probably ended in 16th, which is...
I just don't understand. I don't understand what's going on.
It's so heartbreaking. And because obviously we're feeling it.
Yeah.
But so I can only have an idea of how he's feeling. And also at home, because in the pre-race interviews, he had brought his doggy. You know, he's like, it's in his, like, it's a home race for him too. And of course, you're rooting for him and you want him to do well. And then it's just not going well. And it hurts me so much. I feel so bad for him.
Yeah. And part of me was thinking today or yesterday, I was thinking maybe he's struggling because is this maybe the first time he has a teammate that is better than him in a competitive sense? Like, I'm sure when he got to the thing, to MotoGP, so like MotoGP, but is this like the first time he's paired up with someone who is like super competitive, and this is
where
really,
he's not the number one rider?
He's not. Is this because like with Bastianini is good, and like I love Bastianini, right? But Bastianini
he was not as good as Pecco.
Like he wasn't
as consistent.
So
last season
at least,
because I mean that was our first season,
and then the 2 seasons before that, like Pecco won, right? So he was not better than Pecco. So it's like, is this the first time you're riding with someone who's like of caliber? Or I mean, let's be real, Marc Marquez, it's not a stretch to say that he's a better rider than a lot of people, especially this season. He is the strongest rider. So I'm wondering, is it that because you're on the same bike? And I know that with F1 cars, and not to bring up F1 all the time, but there's quite big setup differences that you can have, and also upgrades. Is that because I just can't imagine that it's that excessive in MotoGP.
Yeah, but I also
I don't know. Obviously, I don't know.
Of course, neither of us know. But then on the other hand, I would imagine because you're pushing it to the limit. You know, of course, you're an athlete, you're competing, and it's like I'm sure it's such a fine feeling, and it's like millimeters, like it's so sensitive that maybe if you don't click with the bike, if there's something that either it's also maybe like your confidence, and then because you need the confidence, you need to believe in yourself to be able to push it to the limit, to take it just all the way to the edge, you know?
I mean,
I obviously I have no clue. I'm talking out of my you know what, you know, but that's
I don't actually.
But that's what I'm imagining, you know, because it's such a fine line, you know, like they're all pushing it to the limits, and we had people like taking it just a little bit too far, and then maybe because Pecco doesn't have that trust and like that connection with the bike, he can't take it there, and then they're close, you know, and it's just like you lose just time.
Yeah, but I just think like I get that like maybe your setup is not where you need it to be, and you lose a couple of tenths here and there, but this is not just the bike setup. I think at this point, like you cannot tell me that this is only the bike setup. Yeah, there's something. I think also talking about of my you know what what you know is that this has to be a big mental aspect. I just can't imagine.
I think it's
else.
It's that, but then also one of our followers had mentioned that Marc is being considered like an alien this season, just because he has like this incredible connection with the bike.
Yeah,
it seems like he can take everything out of it, you know. And I mean, he's often leading by this insane margin, you know. So it's just, I think it's maybe. It's like it's a combination of things, but I think so definitely the mental thing is definitely what's hampering him to do the best that he could even do. You know, because I don't think it is the best that he can do.
No, I think
it
there's
is
more
with the mentality that he is in. But if he would clear up whatever is going on, I think there is more room for him to be better.
Like
Yes, or like. Delete the cookies.
Yeah, because like I get it, like in like we have a similar situation F1 with the Red Bull, right? But in this case, I don't think anyone can really argue against it, that the car is built for Max, right? So there will be a performance difference, right? But in this case, like the bike is not built for Mark. For Mike Marquez is the third brother.
No.
We haven't heard about them. So it just hurts to see.
Yeah.
You know, because last year I was rooting for Pecco, and I just like seeing him fall off so hard, and now potentially losing also the third place in the championship.
Yeah.
That is just, it's just tough. Like he hasn't lost it yet, but
after the sprint race, he officially mathematically is not able to take the rider championship. I mean, not that it was as a surprise, but it's like, even if everything goes wrong,
because
and everything would go right for Pecco, it wouldn't be possible anymore.
And I also think, like, not that I want this to happen, but Mark, right? Technically, like, spoiler alert, he has a match point or championship point in Suzuka. He it's also like, there's also a big chance, even if he would be like, okay, I'm not riding the rest of the season, that he could win it.
Yeah.
Right? Because the only way Alex would win this is if he would win everything.
Yeah.
And I would say, if Mark is not part of this equation, I don't think he would win everything, you know?
So I'm sorry, you're saying that even if Mark wasn't part of the equation, you don't think Alex would win all the races?
Correct.
I agree.
I think,
especially because I think Bez definitely has something to say.
Yeah.
I would also say that the VR46s have something to say. Also, Pedro Acosta is in there.
I think it might make it actually a little bit more interesting because like there would be a lot more fighting around it.
Yeah.
I think, like, if Mark wasn't there at all, I think Alex would have a fair chance of winning.
Yeah.
But if Alex would have to make up all of these points, that makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to the main race.